Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association of BC. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim.
The Prime Minister's trip to India was supposed to drum up business for Canada and for British Columbia. Was he successful?
Oh, heavens no. I mean, unless you're a conservative Andrew Scheer, in which case you think he was just a tremendous home run, because all he's done is crater his own party's approval ratings with this, frankly, Nutbar trip to India. So, you know, everything that could go wrong on this trip did go wrong. You had a Prime Minister who, you know, clearly was more into his family vacation than he was into the business of the country. So he takes along the whole family, dresses in several different costumes, much to the amusement of the Indian media. Does a few little dances, and then, you know, kind of basically fakes an announcement, says that there's a $1 billion trade deal. It's going to bring $1 billion to Canada, this deal with India. Turns out, actually, no, Canada's sending $750 million to India, getting $250 million back. And then, you know, to top it all off, as if that all wasn't bad enough, who's that attending a reception? Who's that tagged along with the Prime Minister? Oh, a convicted attempted terrorist, attempted murderer, someone who took a crowbar, allegedly, and beat Ujjal Dosanjh, the former Premier of British Columbia, who attempted an assassination attempt on a Indian cabinet minister. And on top of that, and then they lied about the Indian government somehow manufacturing. There was some sort of rogue faction within the Indian government that wanted this, long-time accused terrorist to come back to India. So, yeah, that trip was just one disaster after another. You could not have scripted better if you were the Conservatives, except to say that you would have found a way to have Sophie win a contest so they could have stayed there even longer and done more damage to their own personal brand.
India now has surpassed China as the world's fastest growing economy. How important is it to lay down good trade ties with India? Oh,
it's absolutely vital. Anytime you see markets emerging, you want to be in it. You want to be part of it. You want to be one of the early adopters, because, you know, a few nickels and dimes and quarters today can turn into thousands and thousands down the road. So, yeah, you know, it's good to identify that India is the fastest growing economy in the world. You want to get in there. You want to start, laying down as many bonds as possible. But, you know, all this has done is make things worse. It's hard to believe that you could send, this telegenic, charismatic, international figure of a prime minister to a country and have it go any worse. I mean, this has just been an unmitigated disaster for the Liberals.
Well, the latest polls now show the Conservatives are 5 points up on the Liberals. That's the first time that's happened since Justin was elected.
Yeah, exactly. And that's before this really anemic budget. There was not much in the budget for the middle class. There was a lot in the budget. It's almost like 150 pages of a sociology experiment or a sociology thesis, bearing the numbers in the back. This is, I think, going to get a little bit worse for the Liberals before it gets any better.
Now, before the budget, it looked like Bill Morneau had an open attack on small business. Did he back down, and was there anything for small business in the budget?
He did back down from many of the reforms. There's still, a few things around capital gains that we were uncomfortable with and will continue to address. The hilarious thing, though, Jim, is how he spun it after the fact. He claimed that all that consultation that made him back down, he called that crowdsourcing ideas. That wasn't crowdsourcing. That was that was a mob with pitchforks and torches coming to the House of Commons demanding changes to this terrible tax policy. So if that's what Bill Morneau thinks is crowdsourcing, I fear for his long-term future in the government. Not much for small business, nothing on investment, nothing on competitiveness with the United States at a time where President Trump has slashed the business tax rate, where you're seeing companies return billions of dollars in tax savings as bonuses and raises and benefit improvements for staff. You're seeing companies there invest at a speedy clip in improving the processes. All good things, all things we'd love to have in Canada, but instead our government continues to say we're going to wait and see. Last fall they said we'll wait and see what they do on taxes. When the announcement came on what Trump was doing to slash taxes, we'll wait and see what the effect is. Now it's been a few months, we've seen the effect. Well, we'll wait and see what happens next. It just boggles my mind that the finance minister of Canada would not be more concerned with our competitiveness.
Well, he's so rich, he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It must be nice to have made all your money and you don't have to worry about it anymore, right? But still, I mean, come on. I just don't know how long he can credibly stand there and say that, they're studying it, they're watching it, they're monitoring it closely. It's about action now, buddy. It's time to get moving. It's time to make sure that Canada is positioned, because on every tax measurement, we trail the United States. And if you're, an investor today thinking about where you want to put money, you'd be crazy to put money into Canada over the United States, and that's because of various provincial and federal government decisions.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after the break.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, the federal Prime Minister, was in Vancouver to talk to the business community. What was his message?
Yeah, I was there. It was his standard budget stump speech. Hard to believe that you would come to the meeting of the BC Business Council and spend your 15 or 20-minute speech talking about gender equity as your key plank. Obviously, we all support equal pay for equal work and all those important themes, but this was a group that was concerned about two things: competitiveness with the United States and getting natural resources to market. Both of which he kind of let slide until question and answer time. Fortunately, the questions were being crowdsourced, so true crowdsourcing, where you actually got to write them down and vote on which questions should be answered. Not surprisingly, natural resource and competitiveness questions kept rising to the top. The quote that his quote that will most resonate with me and frustrates me was around deficit budgets, in which he said, he didn't want to get, I should pull the exact quote, but he didn't, basically, the exact numbers didn't really matter. He wasn't too fussy on the details of that they have a long-term plan. Of course, you and I know that the long-term plan is to balance the budget by the year 2050, which is, hardly a plan. It's more like a dream.
2050? Who's going to be around to even see it?
Yeah, well, not Justin Trudeau and Bill Morneau as far as in office, that's for sure. And it's frustrating because these have been relatively good times for Canada. If you can't, if you have to run a deficit budget in the good times, what happens in the bad times? And there are some clouds on the horizon, and there's concerns about economic recession, or at the very least, very, very slow growth. And Bill Morneau has left Canada completely unprepared for that.
BC is Canada's second largest aluminum producer behind Quebec and the second largest exporter to the U.S. How concerned are you about a 10% tariff on aluminum?
Yeah, this should be terrifying. I mean, this is softwood lumber all over again, and it just did not feel like the Liberals have a good handle on this or on Trump's motivations or how to reach out to him. Now, hopefully cooler heads prevail. Hopefully, the people who realize just how entwined the steel industries are between Canada and the U.S., lead Trump back to his senses. But look, in a trade battle with the United States, we are at a great disadvantage because we are definitely the junior partner. So we are the junior partner, and we're also the partner that wants to act reasonably, unlike President Trump, who faces re-election and knows that the more nationalist he can get in trade policy is probably the better support he'll find.
Is there anything that BC could do to help ease tensions in that front?
British Columbia should get on the phone with, the BC NDP. Their number one campaign donor was who? The United Steelworkers. Where are the steelworkers in all this? Where's that union? They're very powerful both sides of the border. Maybe it's time to John Horgan to call up his buddy, gave all the money to the NDP in that last election, and get him working the case. There's got to be some options here, and if you're the BC NDP, you can't take a passive approach because the federal government is already acting very, very passively, and that's going to be concerning.
Alberta's premier says the war over the oil pipeline isn't over. She withdrew the banning of BC wines, but may bring it back or bring back other tensions. And I think it's Jason Kenney, the conservative in Alberta, saying, well, if BC wants royalties on the oil pipelines through their territory, I guess we should start charging royalties on the BC natural gas that flows through Alberta.
Yeah, worse than that, they could probably, pass a rule that any petroleum business in Alberta only be done by Alberta companies. That would cripple a number of British Columbia cities along the border. So, I think it's important John Horgan realizes that, look, this is a political decision for John Horgan. He wants to be premier. He knows that he has to have the Green Party support to do it. He knows he has to look like he's using every tool in the toolkit to stop Kinder Morgan in order to keep that support and remain the premier of British Columbia. The problem is, this is a terrible policy for British Columbia. This is bad public policy. It's bad for investment. It's bad for the business community. It's bad for jobs. It's bad for government revenues. It's just plain bad. It's, just crackpot theories and all sorts of lies that have been spun by the professional protest movement. So, he needs to eventually here stand up and say, what, this has been duly approved. It's, it has 194 conditions attached. They've met every permit that's been set out for them. And we need to respect the rule of law and allow this project to go forward. But he can't do that because he fears that it'll mean the end of his premiership.
Isn't shipping oil by pipeline a lot safer than it is by rail or truck?
Yeah, absolutely. Think of where all the rail lines are in this province and where all of the major roads are through the mountainous areas. They're along streams. They're along rivers. They're on the sides of mountains. Can you imagine a train going off carrying oil going into, the Fraser River Canyon? That oil would be spread hundreds, thousands of kilometers, in, nearly an instant. It would be awful. No one wants an oil spill. The truth is, tankers have been incredibly safe. They're double hauled. The main fuel spills that have happened in British Columbia waters aren't from oil tankers. They are from little barges. They're the fuel used by, container ships, things like that. Purpose-built oil tankers are actually quite safe, but it's all part of the scare tactics that these professional protesters use in order to get money out of the Americans.
We'll have more from Jordan Bateman right after this.
Albertas Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Alberta's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at albertasresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, how concerned are businesses in British Columbia about the NDP slapping a healthcare tax on them?
Well, I think everyone's starting to do the math and realizing just how bad it's going to be. So, in the House, Carol James likes to pass off the idea that, no, lots of these businesses already pay that's, MSP on behalf of their folks. It'll be fine. It'll all be a wash. It won't be a wash. You're looking at municipalities, for example. Not a competitive business, municipalities, but, they're going to have to raise, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars more in property taxes in order to pay their healthcare bill on behalf of their staff. All those people already get MSP covered, but the healthcare bill is going to be so much higher. So, she claims that, 85% of small businesses or something won't pay it. Well, it's micro businesses that won't pay anything, businesses with payrolls under $500,000. But for companies, if, for example, they're members of ICBA, if you have a roofing crew and an office worker, you're at usually $500,000 in salary, and now you're on the hook to pay for all these healthcare things. So as the math has been done, there was that greenhouse company in Langley, where I live. They're looking at $100,000 more a year just for their healthcare bill. All of a sudden you're talking about, the choice between employing one or two more people and paying your healthcare bill. That's bad for, it's going to be bad for the employment numbers.
What about the carbon tax that BC now has had for a decade? Any evidence that it's made any difference in the consumption of fossil fuels?
No, it's made no difference. The only time fossil fuels, greenhouse gases have been reduced is when we went into the recession following 2008. It has nothing to do with the carbon tax and everything to do with economic conditions. In fact, Bill Morneau was asked this today, what's the point of having a carbon tax when the Americans don't? And he was just like nonplussed at this question. Like, are you really saying we should do nothing on greenhouse gas emissions? And we all kind of laughed because Canada contributes 1.6% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Frankly, if we allowed natural gas, liquefied natural gas, to go forward, we would, probably see a slight uptick in our percentage of emissions, but would actually be reducing them overall around the world because, China could get off some of their dirty coal plants and onto cleaner natural gas. So it's all just a sham, a numbers game. And the bottom line is 1.6% of the world's output. I mean, you're talking about taking a few cups of water out of a swimming pool and pretending that we're making a difference.
Yes, and also a carbon tax on heating fuel when Canada's the coldest country in the world.
Yeah, and look, Alberta has said if this Kinder Morgan pipeline doesn't get built, they are not going to, they're going to scrap the carbon tax plan. And if they scrap their carbon tax plan, that's the time. I mean, BC should say, forget it. Why are we going to tie our hands against Albertans for another 10 years? We've already artificially slowed our economy, in order to do this. It doesn't make any sense. So the next year or so, I mean, if Trudeau really wants this carbon tax, if that's really his legacy, to the world, his cleanest, country nonsense, the Gregor Robertson type politics, so he better get Kinder Morgan built because Alberta's not going to go along with it. Saskatchewan then won't. Manitoba will pull out, and you'll see BC, I'm sure, follow suit as soon as possible. Probably be an election issue, and I bet the NDP would come out on the wrong side of that.
Well, getting rid of a hated tax is an election winner. I lived in Saskatchewan when Premier Grant Devine got rid of the gasoline tax, and he won by a landslide. Yep.
No, exactly. And gasoline prices have crept up again. We're at $1.50 a liter. 53 cents of that now is taxes. You're going to see another 2 cents a liter carbon tax increase on April 1st. That's going to bring prices up again. Over on the island, they're having another 2 cents a liter tax increase to fund transit in Greater Victoria. So all over BC, people are starting to look again at their gas bills and say, whoa, what's going on here? Why is government artificially increasing the cost of this? And remember, the only difference between our cost and what you pay across south of the line in the United States, 95% of that difference is taxes. We pay so much more in taxes that it makes our gas so much more expensive.
Did the NDP do anything in their budget that you liked?
What did the NDP do in the budget that I liked? I was going to say MSP, but then they bring in this healthcare tax, which claws back more than half of it. That bothered me. Look, I think there needs to be some work done on childcare. I'm glad they made it a priority. I don't agree with what they've done. I think it's going to artificially inflate childcare costs. But, at least they're recognizing it. They came out with a 30-point plan on housing affordability. Many of the points are perfectly valid. But, again, they missed a key one, which is speeding up permits and speeding up rezonings at city halls, which contribute to less supply. It was one of those documents where, it was full of half measures. It was full of that kind of wienery political speak where they say one thing and then kind of do it but don't really do it, and then no one really gets any further ahead. And honestly, absolutely nothing for the middle class. I'm a middle class guy, and that's troubling. It bothers me that the middle class continues to swim in debt. The consumer debt highest in the OECD is right here in Canada and in British Columbia in particular. We need to get a handle on this and find ways to make life more affordable, not just for the lowest end of the spectrum, but for the middle class as well.
What's your feeling on the NDP scrapping the first-time homebuyer program?
Well, this is actually a good thing. So this was a weird intrusion into the housing market, but the Liberals did. I didn't like the program when they first announced it. I was with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation at the time. Essentially, they were giving out loans. I think it was $37,000 or something towards down payments for first-time home buyers. Clearly far less uptake than they expected. Only 3,000 loans were handed out. They were expecting 40,000 loans to be handed out. It was just bad policy because all it did was take the lower end of the market and immediately add $37,000 to the cost of all these properties. People saw that money available and said, great, we'll add to it. We'll just up our costs. And, sure enough, housing prices continue to climb and climb again out of the reach of first-time home buyers.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Their website, icba.ca. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. If you have any questions for us or our guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.